Imagine watching your only credit card being broken in half right in front of you, the pieces being thrown on the floor as if you were trash. Amanda lived through this brutal humiliation when her husband left her without a single penny, saying, "Now you're gonna go crawling behind me for everything." He broke more than a card. He broke her dignity. But what Stephen never imagined is that the destroyed woman in the kitchen would plant the seeds of the biggest turnaround of their lives. This is the devastating story of how Amanda rose from the ashes of humiliation to build her freedom with her own hands. Have you ever felt so small that it seemed like the entire world was conspiring against you? Amanda knew that feeling better than anyone. For 8 years, she lived in a golden prison where every penny had to be justified, every purchase questioned, every dream ridiculed. Stephen had total control of the accounts, the decisions, her life. And Amanda? Amanda had become a shadow of herself. But there's something about women that controlling men never understand. We are natural-born survivors. When they push us against the wall, when they take everything from us, when they think they've broken us completely, that's exactly when our real strength awakens. That's when we stop asking for permission and start taking what's rightfully ours. Amanda's story isn't about revenge. It's about rebirth. It's about discovering that you were always stronger than you imagined, more capable than they made you believe. It's about transforming what others call failures into the foundation of your freedom. Because sometimes, when women lose everything, they discover they actually didn't lose anything. They just got rid of what was holding them back. Get ready for a journey that will touch every fiber of your being. This isn't just one woman's story. It's the story of all of us who were once underestimated, silenced, or controlled. And in the end, you'll understand that true power was never in the hands of those who oppressed us. It was always inside us, waiting for the right moment to explode. Now tell me, from what city and country are you watching this story? Leave it in the comments, because I want to know where the brave women are who aren't afraid of real and transformative stories like this one. It was an ordinary Tuesday in March when Amanda's life completely collapsed. She was preparing breakfast, as she had done every day for 8 years, when Stephen entered the kitchen with an expression she had never seen before. It wasn't anger. It was something worse. It was cruel satisfaction. "Amanda, we need to talk," he said, sitting at the table like a king about to decree a sentence. She felt her stomach turn. Those words never brought anything good. "I canceled your bank account yesterday," Stephen announced with the same casualness of someone commenting about the weather. "And I also canceled all your credit cards." Amanda stopped stirring the eggs in the pan. The world went silent for a moment, as if even time itself had stopped to process the cruelty of those words. "What?" she whispered, unable to turn around to face him. Stephen took her bank card from his pocket. That same card she used to buy groceries, medicine, birthday gifts for her nephews. He held the card as if it were a weapon. "Now you're gonna go crawling behind me for everything," he exploded, screaming so loud that the pots shook. His eyes were wild, filled with sick satisfaction. "Want to buy gum? You'll have to ask me. Want a new lipstick? You'll have to ask me." At that same moment, he broke the card in half right in front of her. The sound of the plastic breaking rang out like a gunshot in the silence that followed the scream. But he didn't stop there. With a violence that made Amanda instinctively step back, Stephen threw the pieces on the floor with such force that they ricocheted across the kitchen tiles. Amanda stared at the card pieces scattered on the kitchen floor, feeling something die inside her chest. It wasn't just the card that had broken. It was the last crumb of dignity she still held. Tears burned her eyes, but she didn't allow them to fall. Not in front of him. Never in front of him. "Why are you doing this to me?" she asked, her voice trembling with a mixture of desperation and contained rage. "Because you forgot your place," Stephen replied, rising from his chair like a predator who had secured his prey. "You are my wife. I support this house. I pay the bills. I make the decisions. And you're going to learn to obey me." He left the kitchen, leaving Amanda alone with the wreckage, both of the card and what remained of her self-esteem. She bent down and picked up the pieces from the floor with trembling hands. It was as if she were collecting pieces of herself. In that moment, something deep and primitive awakened inside Amanda. It wasn't anger. It was something much more powerful. It was the desperate need to survive. It was the instinct of a woman who had been pushed beyond the limit and who, for the first time in 8 years, was about to fight back. She went to the sink drawer, the one that always got stuck, and rummaged through old receipts and forgotten discount coupons. There at the bottom, folded and wrinkled, were 2 $20 bills, a $5 bill, and 2 $1 coins, money she had saved from old shopping change, almost forgotten in time. $47. It was all she had in the entire world. Amanda held the bills against her chest and closed her eyes. "All right, Stephen," she whispered to the empty kitchen. "You want to see what I'm capable of?" "You're going to see?" She looked around the kitchen, at the mixer she had received from her mother-in-law, at the ingredients in the pantry, at the cupcake molds she only used on special occasions. For years, Stephen had mocked her cupcakes, saying they were a waste of time and child's play. But in that moment, looking at those $47, Amanda began to see possibilities where before there had only been defeats. Maybe those child's games were exactly what she needed to start building a life away from Stephen's controlling hands. For the first time in years, Amanda smiled. It wasn't a smile of happiness. It was a smile of determination. It was the smile of a woman who had just discovered she had much more strength than she imagined. The game had changed, and Stephen had no idea what was coming. Now tell me, have you ever gone through a moment in your life when you lost everything and had to start over from zero? How did you find the strength to keep going? Share with us in the comments, because stories of overcoming like yours can inspire other women who are going through the same situation. And if this story is touching your heart, leave a like to help me bring this message to more people who need to hear it. Subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any stories of women who reinvented themselves and found their inner strength. The next morning, Amanda woke up with swollen eyes from crying throughout the night. Stephen had left early for work without even looking at her face, leaving only the sound of the door slamming as a cruel reminder of what had happened the day before. She got up slowly, as if every movement hurt both body and soul. The kitchen still bore the marks of humiliation. She had collected the card pieces, but couldn't forget the sound of it breaking, nor her husband's savage screams echoing through the walls. Amanda looked at the drawer where she kept the $47. It was a ridiculous amount, almost insulting, but it was all she had between complete dependence and a spark of hope. She opened the pantry and analyzed what she had available. Flour, sugar, eggs, butter, basic ingredients she always kept at home. For years, she made cupcakes only on special occasions, when Stephen allowed unnecessary expenses with visits or her nephew's birthdays. He always mocked, saying she was wasting time with little games. But in that moment, looking at those simple ingredients, Amanda began to see something different. Maybe those little games were her only chance to get out of the hole where Stephen had pushed her. With hands still trembling from anxiety, she began separating the ingredients. She didn't have an elaborate plan, just a desperate need to do something, anything, that would make her feel she still had some control over her own life. Amanda had always had a natural talent for baking. It was something that came from within, a skill her grandmother had passed to her when she was a child. But with Stephen constantly diminishing everything she did, she had almost forgotten how good it felt to create something with her own hands. She decided to make 24 cupcakes. Nothing too elaborate, just her classic vanilla recipe with cream cheese frosting, the one that always succeeded on the few occasions when she could show her talent. While mixing the batter, Amanda felt something she hadn't felt in years: purpose. Each movement of the spoon was like a small rebellion against Stephen's cruel words. Each ingredient she added was a step away from the broken woman he wanted her to be. The sweet smell invaded the kitchen, bringing memories of happier times, when she still believed in herself. For a few precious hours, Amanda forgot about the humiliation, forgot about the screaming, forgot about the feeling of being small and useless. When the cupcakes were ready, she looked at them with a mixture of pride and nervousness. They were perfect, fluffy, golden, with creamy frosting decorated with delicate little swirls. It was hard to believe that something so beautiful had come from the hands of someone who felt so destroyed. Amanda carefully packed 12 cupcakes in a box she found in the cabinet and walked to her neighbor Ashley's house. They had known each other for 3 years, since Ashley had moved to the neighborhood, but they had never had a very close friendship. Stephen didn't like Amanda making friends. He said she talked too much and gave unnecessary information about their lives. Ashley opened the door with a warm smile. She was a 42-year-old woman, an executive at a marketing company, divorced for 5 years and raising 2 teenage children alone. She had contagious energy and a direct way of speaking that had always intimidated Amanda. Not because Ashley was rude, but because she represented everything Amanda would like to be: independent, confident, owner of her own life. "Amanda, what a nice surprise," Ashley said, immediately noticing her neighbor's red eyes. Is everything okay, dear?" I made some cupcakes," Amanda stammered, extending the box with trembling hands. "I thought you might like them. I made too many and—" Ashley opened the box and her eyes lit up. "My God, Amanda, these cupcakes look like they're from a professional bakery. Did you really make these?" Amanda felt her cheeks flush. It had been so long since anyone had praised something she had done that she had almost forgotten what it was like to receive genuine recognition. "It's just a simple recipe," she murmured, trying to diminish her own achievement. "Simple? Honey, I work in marketing and I've seen many expensive bakeries that don't make cupcakes as beautiful as these." Ashley tasted one and closed her eyes in pleasure. "And the flavor. Amanda, this is incredible. Seriously, where did you learn to make this?" "My grandmother taught me when I was little," Amanda replied, feeling a pang of longing. "But I don't make them much. Stephen always says it's a waste of time." Ashley stopped chewing and looked directly into Amanda's eyes. "Stephen is crazy. This is real talent." At that moment, something clicked in Ashley's mind. She had an event at work on Friday, an important meeting with clients, and was looking for something special to serve. "Amanda, can I make you a proposal? I need sweets for an event at my work on Friday. Could you make a dozen for me? I'll pay, of course. How about $60? Amanda was shocked. $60? For cupcakes she had made almost without thinking. You would pay for this?" she asked, still not believing it. "I would pay, and it would still be cheap. Amanda, you have a gift. These people at my work pay $5 for a cupcake from those fancy bakeries downtown, and yours is much better." Amanda felt her heart race. It was the first time in years that someone valued something she knew how to do. It was the first time someone was willing to pay for her work. I accept," she said, her voice coming out firmer than she expected. "Perfect. I'll give you the money right now." Ashley disappeared for a moment and returned with the bills. "And Amanda, if you want to talk about anything, I'm always here, okay?" Amanda went home holding the $60 as if they were treasure. Added to the $47 she already had, she now had $107. It wasn't much, but it was a beginning. More important than the money was the feeling Ashley had awakened in her. For the first time in years, Amanda felt seen, valued, capable. It was as if a part of her that had been asleep for so long had finally awakened. When Stephen came home that night, he found Amanda in the kitchen, cleaning the sink with a small smile on her face. "What did you do all day?" he asked with his usual tone of contempt. "I made some cupcakes," Amanda replied simply. Stephen laughed with scorn. "Of course you did. At least now you're doing something useful at home, since you're not good for anything else anyway." Amanda didn't respond. She just continued washing the dishes. But inside, something had changed. Stephen could try to break her dignity, could try to control every penny of her life, but there was something he couldn't touch: her talent. And for the first time since the card pieces had fallen on the kitchen floor, Amanda began to believe that maybe, just maybe, she could find a way back to herself. With the $60 burning in her hands, Amanda did something she hadn't done in years. She made a decision completely on her own. On Thursday morning, when Stephen left for work, she took her $107 and went to the supermarket. For the first time in 8 years, Amanda walked through the aisles without having to justify every item in the cart. There was no one breathing down her neck, questioning whether she really needed that. It was a small freedom, almost insignificant for any normal person. But for her, it was like breathing fresh air after years of suffocation. She bought quality ingredients: organic flour, Belgian chocolate, pure vanilla, premium cream cheese. Things Stephen always said were a waste of money, an unnecessary fuss. But Amanda knew that to make cupcakes that really stood out, she needed the best ingredients. She spent $45, leaving her with $62 remaining. Every penny was carefully calculated. She couldn't make mistakes. There was no margin for error when you have so little. Back home, Amanda stored the ingredients at the back of the pantry, behind old canned goods that Stephen never touched. It was important that he didn't notice anything different. She was learning the art of being invisible, of operating in the shadows of her own home. That night, when she prepared the cupcakes for Ashley, Amanda did something that would change everything. She experimented. Instead of just repeating the basic recipe, she created variations. She made chocolate cupcakes with brigadeiro filling, lemon cupcakes with meringue frosting, and red velvet cupcakes with cream cheese. She worked in absolute silence, with only the stove light illuminating the kitchen. It was almost midnight, but she didn't feel tired. Each cupcake that came out of the oven was like a small victory over the voice in her head that repeated Stephen's cruel words. On Friday morning, Ashley came to pick up the cupcakes and almost fainted with excitement. "Amanda, my God! These are even more incredible than the first ones," she exclaimed, looking at the creations as if they were works of art. "You outdid yourself." "I wanted to try some variations," Amanda said timidly, still not used to compliments. "Honey, can I ask you a question? If someone from my office asks who made these cupcakes, can I give them your contact?" Amanda hesitated. The idea of other people knowing her work was both exciting and terrifying. What if Stephen found out? What if she wasn't good enough for other people? I don't know, Ashley. Stephen doesn't really like it when I— "Stephen doesn't need to know everything, dear," Ashley interrupted gently but firmly. "This is about you, about your talent. And frankly, you're too good to keep hiding this." Amanda felt a shiver down her spine. It was the first time someone suggested she could have secrets from her own husband. The idea was scary and liberating at the same time. "All right," she whispered. "You can give them my number." Ashley smiled and hugged Amanda. "You won't regret this. I'm sure of it." And Ashley was right. On Monday, Amanda's phone rang 3 times. 3 different women from Ashley's office wanted to order cupcakes, one for her daughter's birthday, another for a charity event, and the third just because she couldn't stop thinking about those incredible cupcakes. Amanda wrote down the orders with trembling hands: 2 dozen for Thursday, 1.5 dozen for Saturday, and 3 dozen for the following Sunday. In total, it was $330 in orders. $330. Amanda had to sit down when she did the math. It was more money than she had touched in years. But with the orders came new challenges. Amanda needed more ingredients, more cupcake molds, more packaging boxes, and mainly, she needed time to bake without Stephen noticing. She developed an almost military routine. She woke up at 4 a.m. when Stephen was still sleeping deeply and baked cupcakes in complete silence. She learned to time each step, to work on tiptoe, to be a ghost in her own house. The special ingredients were hidden in places Stephen would never look: inside regular flour bags, behind cleaning products, at the bottom of the freezer. Amanda became an expert in domestic camouflage. The money from sales was kept in an old shoebox, buried at the bottom of the guest room closet, behind winter blankets that hadn't been used in years. Each bill was carefully folded, each coin counted and recounted like precious treasure. Stephen noticed some subtle changes. The house always smelled slightly sweet, even when he came home from work. Amanda seemed more animated, less dejected. But he attributed this to having put her in her place. "See how much better you are when you understand your role," he said one night, while Amanda washed the dishes. "Women were made to take care of the house, not to go around making up nonsense." Amanda just nodded, but inside she was smiling. If he knew that at that exact moment she had $415 hidden in the closet, money she had earned with her own talent, with her own work, he would probably have a heart attack. The orders kept coming. Word of mouth was working better than Amanda could ever imagine. Each satisfied customer referred 2 friends. Each successful event generated 3 new orders. Amanda began to dream bigger. What if she made business cards? What if she created more flavors? What if she got contracts with cafes in the region? But for now, she worked in the shadows, building her little empire in silence. Each cupcake sold was a brick in the foundation of her freedom. Each dollar saved was a step away from the prison her life had become. Stephen could have broken her card, could have taken her dignity, but there was something he couldn't touch. The determination of a woman who had finally found her strength. And that strength was growing, one batch at a time. Have you ever had to rebuild your life in secret? Have you ever needed to work in the shadows to create a new reality? Tell us in the comments how your experience was, because stories of women who reinvented themselves in silence need to be shared to inspire others who are going through the same situation. It was a Wednesday morning when the phone rang and completely changed the course of Amanda's life. She was organizing her secret cupcake boxes in the closet when she heard the elegant voice on the other end of the line. "Hello, I would like to speak with Amanda. My name is Susan Richardson, and I got your contact through Ashley." Amanda felt her heart race. Susan spoke with the confidence of someone used to being in command, with a refined accent that suggested expensive education and high social status. "I tried your cupcakes at Ashley's office yesterday and was absolutely impressed," Susan continued. "And I work as a human resources director at a financial consulting firm, and we're organizing a very important corporate party next Friday." Amanda gripped the phone tightly, trying to process what she was hearing. "I would need 200 cupcakes for the event. It will be at our company headquarters, with VIP clients and investors. Budget is not an issue. Quality is our priority. Would you be able to handle an order of this size?" 200 cupcakes. Amanda quickly did the math in her head. 200 cupcakes at $5 each meant $1,000. $1,000! It was more money than she had seen together in her entire married life. But along with the euphoria came panic. 200 cupcakes meant ingredients in industrial quantities, hours and hours of work, equipment she didn't have. How would she manage to do all this without Stephen finding out? I need to check my schedule," Amanda stammered, trying to buy time to think. "Of course, dear, but I need an answer by tomorrow, if possible. As I said, it's a very important event, and I need to ensure everything will be perfect." After she hung up the phone, Amanda stood in the middle of the kitchen, processing the magnitude of what had just happened. It was her chance to take a giant leap, but also the biggest risk she had ever taken. She spent the rest of the day planning obsessively. She made ingredient lists, calculated preparation times, drew organizational schemes. To make 200 cupcakes, she would need to work 3 nights in a row, starting Tuesday dawn. The biggest challenge would be hiding the ingredients. Amanda would need huge bags of flour, dozens of eggs, pounds of sugar. There was no way to camouflage a purchase of that size. Then she had a brilliant idea. Instead of buying everything at once, she would make 5 small purchases at different supermarkets, spread over 2 days. She would tell Stephen she was taking advantage of sales and stocking up on discounted products. On Thursday morning, Amanda called Susan back. "I accept the order," she said, trying to sound more confident than she felt. $1,000 for 200 cupcakes, gourmet varieties. Perfect. I'll stop by your house on Thursday to work out the final details and give you an advance. An advance? Amanda almost fainted. Susan was taking the business seriously, treating her like a real professional. The next few days were an emotional roller coaster. Amanda executed her shopping plan with military precision. She left home at different times, went to markets in distant neighborhoods, always paying cash to leave no traces. Stephen noticed she was going out more, but Amanda had her excuses ready. I found an incredible flour sale. Sugar was half price. I bought fresh eggs straight from the farm. He grumbled about women who don't know how to save money, but didn't suspect anything. To Stephen, Amanda remained the same submissive wife he had put in her place. On Tuesday night, when Stephen went to sleep, Amanda began the biggest marathon of her life. She had transformed the kitchen into a mass production operation, with ingredients organized by stations, numbered molds, and a detailed schedule taped to the refrigerator. She worked from 11 at night to 5 in the morning, making 70 cupcakes on the first night. The flavors were her most elaborate: Belgian chocolate with salted caramel filling, red velvet with vanilla cream cheese, Sicilian lemon with Swiss meringue, and premium vanilla with strawberry buttercream. On Wednesday, she repeated the operation and made 60 more cupcakes. Her feet hurt, her back was destroyed, but she was entering a kind of productive trance. Each cupcake that came out of the oven was a small masterpiece. On Thursday, she made the last 70 cupcakes and began the decoration process. This was where Amanda really shone. Each frosting was applied with an artist's precision, each decoration made by hand with details that seemed impossible. When Susan arrived on Thursday afternoon to pick up the cupcakes, she was silent for a long moment, just looking at Amanda's creations arranged in elegant boxes. "My God, Amanda," she finally whispered. "This isn't home bakery work. This is professional-level culinary art." Susan examined each cupcake as if it were a jewel, taking photos, praising the details. "Where did you study baking? Did you work at some famous patisserie?" "No," Amanda replied timidly. "I learned from my grandmother and I experimented." "Experimented?" Susan laughed incredulously. "Dear, you have extraordinary natural talent. These creations would be at home in the best hotels in New York." Susan paid the $1,000 in cash, as promised, and even gave a $100 tip. "For the exceptional work," she explained. $1,100. Amanda held the bills with trembling hands, unable to believe it was real. In 3 days of work, she had earned more money than Stephen made in almost 2 months. But more important than the money was how she felt. For the first time in her life, Amanda had proven to herself that she was capable of something extraordinary. She had accepted an impossible challenge and overcome it with excellence. "Amanda," Susan said before leaving, "I hope you're prepared, because after today, your life is going to change completely." As Amanda stored the money in her secret box, she knew Susan was right. There was no going back. She had proven she could fly, and now she would never be able to accept living crawling again. Stephen came home that night to find Amanda washing dishes in the kitchen. As always, he had no idea he was looking at a woman who had just discovered her true power. And Amanda? Amanda was planning her next flight. Susan wasn't kidding when she said Amanda's life would change completely. The Monday following the corporate party, Amanda's phone didn't stop ringing. The event had been a resounding success, and everyone wanted to know who was the mysterious baker behind those incredible creations. "Amanda, you need business cards urgently," Susan said in one of the calls. "Half the party guests asked me for your contact. You're about to become famous in the city." Amanda felt a mix of euphoria and terror. Famous meant more money, more independence, more power over her own life. But it also meant more risks of Stephen discovering everything. The first thing she did was create simple business cards. She used a clean design with just the essentials: Amanda's sweet dreams, artisanal gourmet cupcakes, and her phone number. She had 200 cards printed at a small print shop downtown, paying $50 in cash. When she came home with the cards hidden in her purse, Amanda felt she had crossed an invisible line. She was no longer just a housewife who made little sweets. She was an entrepreneur with business cards. The next step was opening a secret bank account. Amanda knew she couldn't continue keeping thousands of dollars in a shoebox. She chose a bank on the other side of town where no one knew her, and opened a simple account using Ashley's address as a business reference. Depositing those $1,100 was one of the most exciting moments of Amanda's life. For the first time, she had a bank account that Stephen didn't control, money that was completely hers. Orders began pouring in. In the first week after Susan's party, Amanda received requests for 5 different events: 2 birthdays, a baby shower, a graduation party, and a charity event. In total, it was over $800 in sales. Amanda had to organize herself like never before. She created detailed spreadsheets with delivery dates, flavors, quantities, and values. She developed a production system that maximized her time in the early morning hours, working like a silent military operation while Stephen slept. Word of mouth was working better than she had ever dreamed. Each satisfied customer referred at least 2 friends. Each successful event generated 3 new orders. It was like a chain reaction she could no longer control, and didn't want to control. Amanda began investing in better equipment, always with creative excuses for Stephen. "I found this industrial mixer on an incredible sale," she lied when she came home with professional equipment. "It was half price because it had a small defect in the color." Stephen just grumbled something about women who always find an excuse to spend, but didn't question it. He was so absorbed in his own work, so convinced he had tamed Amanda by breaking her card, that he didn't notice the subtle changes happening right under his nose. When Amanda bought professional cupcake molds, she said they were on clearance at the supermarket. When she brought premium ingredients, they were special offers she couldn't pass up. Stephen was so secure in his superiority that he didn't even suspect his wife could be building a parallel empire in their own home. Amanda began developing a complete line of exclusive flavors. Her cupcakes became known for their sophistication: lavender with honey, 70% chocolate with sea salt, coconut with mango, pistachio with cream cheese frosting. These were flavors no one else made in the city, creations that came from her imagination and transformed into small, edible works of art. The quality of ingredients became her trademark. Amanda started buying Belgian chocolate, pure Madagascar vanilla, organic fruits. It cost more, but allowed her to charge premium prices. Her cupcakes now cost $6 each, and customers paid without question because they knew they were buying excellence. With each order delivered, Amanda felt her confidence grow. She wasn't just making cupcakes. She was creating experiences, special moments, sweet memories that people would carry forever. It was a purpose that went far beyond money. The money in the secret account grew weekly. Amanda went from $1,000 to $3,000, then to $5,000. It was a dizzying feeling to see those numbers rising, knowing that every penny came from her own talent, her own effort, her own determination to no longer accept living as a shadow. Stephen continued coming home every day to find the same apparently submissive wife, washing dishes and preparing dinner. He had no idea he was living with a woman who had discovered a power he could never imagine, the power to create value with her own hands. Amanda began dreaming bigger. What if she got contracts with cafes in the region? What if she developed a line of cakes for special occasions? What if she created a website for online sales? The possibilities seemed infinite, and for the first time in years, Amanda allowed herself to dream without limits. More important than the money was how Amanda felt about herself. For the first time in 8 years, she woke up every day with purpose. She had goals, challenges, achievements. She was building something that was completely hers, something Stephen could never touch or destroy. One night, counting the money in her secret account, now over $6,000, Amanda looked at herself in the bathroom mirror and almost didn't recognize the woman she saw. Her eyes shone with a confidence that hadn't existed in years. Her shoulders were straight, no longer curved under the weight of submission. Stephen had tried to break her dignity along with that card. But what he didn't know was that he had awakened something much more powerful, the dormant ambition of a woman who had finally discovered her true worth. And that discovery was just beginning to transform everything. Have you ever had a moment in life when you discovered a talent or passion that completely changed your perspective about your own capabilities? Share with us in the comments, because these stories of self-discovery inspire other people to explore their own hidden potential. It was a Thursday morning when the call that would change everything arrived. Amanda was organizing her week's orders when the phone rang, and on the other side of the line was a male voice she didn't recognize. "Hello, am I speaking with Amanda from Sweet Dreams Cupcakes?" the man asked with a heavy local accent. "My name is Robert. I own Cafe Morning Bliss, downtown." Amanda felt her heart race. Cafe Morning Bliss was one of the busiest establishments in the city, always packed with executives and college students. She had passed by the storefront a few times and always admired the constant flow of customers. "One of my regular customers brought your cupcakes last week," Robert continued. "She bought some at the company party where she works. Man, I need to be honest with you. I've tried cupcakes from all the bakeries in the region, and yours are on another level." Amanda gripped the phone tightly, barely able to believe what she was hearing. "I'd like to make a business proposal," Robert said. "How about we set up a meeting for you to come here, see the cafe, and talk about possible regular supply?" A business partnership, regular supply. Amanda had to sit down in the kitchen chair, feeling her legs wobble. It was what she had secretly dreamed of, but never imagined could happen so quickly. I would love to," she stammered. "When would be convenient for you?" "How about tomorrow morning, around 10? The crowd dies down. We can talk better." After she hung up the phone, Amanda stood in the middle of the kitchen, processing what had just happened. It was her chance to make the leap she had been dreaming of, to go from occasional orders to a stable, regular contract. On Friday morning, Amanda dressed with special care. She chose a simple but elegant outfit, one of those Stephen always said was a waste to wear at home. She prepared a sample of her best cupcakes and left home saying she was going to Bon Toy and do some shopping downtown. Cafe Morning Bliss was even more impressive inside than outside. It had modern and cozy decor, with tables always occupied and a counter displaying sweets and pastries that looked professional. Amanda felt intimidated for a moment, questioning whether she was really up to the level of that environment. Robert was a man of about 50, with graying hair and a warm smile that immediately reassured her. He received her with genuine enthusiasm and took her to a reserved table at the back of the cafe. "Amanda, let me be direct with you," he said after they tasted the cupcakes she brought. "I've been working with bakery for 15 years. I've tested suppliers from all over the region. What you do isn't ordinary cupcakes, it's real artisanal confectionery." He explained his proposal. He wanted Amanda to supply 24 assorted cupcakes, 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It would be 72 units weekly, which he would sell for $8 each in the cafe. "I can pay you $5 per cupcake," Robert offered. "That's $360 per week, $1,440 per month. And if things work out well, we can think about increasing the quantity." Amanda quickly did the math in her head and almost choked. $1,440 per month? That was almost Stephen's salary, and he worked 40 hours a week at a company. She would earn that making cupcakes. "I accept," she said, trying not to let desperation show in her voice. "When can we start?" "How about next Monday? That gives you the weekend to get organized." They worked out the details. Amanda would deliver the cupcakes always in the early mornings, before the cafe's busy period. Robert would pay weekly, always in cash. It was Amanda's dream contract. Going home, Amanda felt a mixture of euphoria and panic. 72 units per week meant production on a scale she had never attempted before. She would need to completely reorganize her secret operation. The first issue was space. The home kitchen, even working at dawn, wouldn't be enough for such large production. Amanda looked around the house, analyzing possibilities until her eyes landed on the garage. Stephen's garage was a storage room for old tools and dusty boxes he never touched. It was separate from the house, with an independent entrance. If Amanda could transform a corner of the garage into a mini cupcake laboratory, she could work with much more freedom and space. During the weekend, while Stephen watched television, Amanda discreetly began cleaning and organizing the garage. She created a space in the back, hidden behind old boxes, where she installed a large table she bought, on sale, for craft projects. She bought a long extension cord and managed to bring electricity to her improvised workstation. She installed simple shelves where she could store ingredients and equipment. In a few days, she had a functional mini laboratory, completely invisible to anyone who casually entered the garage. The first week of production for the cafe was an epic challenge. Amanda worked from 2 to 6 in the morning in the garage, producing 24 cupcakes per session. The sweet smell inevitably spread throughout the property, reaching the house. "What's that sweet smell in the air in the morning?" Stephen asked on Wednesday, frowning. "Is it coming from the neighborhood?" "It must be Ashley," Amanda replied without hesitation. "She's been making some different recipes for the kids. You know how it is, right? Single mom trying to please the children." Stephen grumbled something about pushy neighbor making noise and smell early, and didn't bring up the subject again. Amanda breathed a sigh of relief. Her first excuse had worked. The delivery to Cafe Morning Bliss was an absolute success. Robert was impressed with the quality and variety, and Amanda's cupcakes sold out before the end of the morning. Customers began asking about those incredible cupcakes, and some even left their contacts for direct orders. At the end of the first week, when Robert paid the $360 in cash, Amanda felt like she was floating. It was more money than she earned in an entire month with occasional orders. But more important than the money was the personal fulfillment. Amanda was supplying to a real business. Her cupcakes were being sold in a professional showcase. People she didn't even know were paying to taste her creations. She was no longer a housewife who made little sweets. She was a respected commercial supplier. While depositing the money in her secret account, now with over $8,000, Amanda looked through the garage window at the house where Stephen was probably watching TV, completely oblivious to the revolution happening just a few meters away. She was building something much bigger than she had imagined. What had started as a desperate need to have a few dollars of her own was transforming into a real business, with growth potential she could barely calculate. And the most incredible thing was that Stephen still thought he had total control over her life. Amanda smiled, looking at her flower-covered hands. These were the same hands he had tried to break along with that card. But these hands were building her freedom, one batch at a time. The success at Cafe Morning Bliss was like throwing a stone in a lake. The waves spread much faster than Amanda had imagined. In less than 2 weeks, her phone was ringing again with proposals she never expected to receive. "Amanda, this is Patricia from Golden Wheat Bakery," said the voice on the other end of the line on a Tuesday morning. "Our customers won't stop asking about those incredible cupcakes they're selling at Morning Bliss. Would you be interested in supplying us too?" Before Amanda could fully process that call, others arrived. Mark, from Cafe Urban Beans, wanted a similar partnership. Sarah, from Sweet Corner Bakery, offered an even bigger contract. James, from Downtown Bakery, practically begged her to consider exclusive supply. In 1 week, Amanda had received 5 different business proposals. It was simultaneously the best and most terrifying moment of her life. She did the math carefully, analyzing each proposal like a true entrepreneur. Cafe Urban Beans wanted 3 dozen per week at $5 per unit. Sweet Corner offered 4 dozen weekly at the same price. Golden Wheat wanted 5 dozen per week. Downtown Bakery proposed 6 dozen weekly, but could only pay $4.50 per cupcake. Amanda decided to accept 3 contracts besides Morning Bliss: Urban Beans, Sweet Corner, and Golden Wheat. Together, they represented a total of 540 cupcakes per week, more than 2,000 units per month. Making the final calculations, Amanda almost fainted. Between all the contracts, she would be earning $8,000 per month. $8,000. It was almost 3 times Stephen's salary. But with exponential growth came challenges she had never imagined. 540 cupcakes per week meant producing more than 70 units per day, every day. It was physically impossible for one person alone, even working 24 hours a day. Amanda knew she needed help, but officially hiring someone was out of the question. How would she explain to Stephen the presence of an employee? How would she justify salary expenses? She needed a creative and discreet solution. The answer came in a conversation with Ashley during a cupcake delivery for a neighbor's event. "Amanda, you look exhausted," Ashley observed, noticing the deep, dark circles and trembling hands from fatigue. "How many hours a night have you been sleeping?" "About 2, 3 at most," Amanda admitted. "The demand is growing too fast. I can't keep up." Ashley stopped what she was doing and looked directly at Amanda. "Well, what if I helped you?" "What do you mean?" "I work in marketing, Amanda. I understand business. What you're building is impressive, but you're going to kill yourself trying to do everything alone." Ashley paused thoughtfully. "What if I became your silent partner? I help you with production, you pay me a share. We work together." The idea was both saving and risky. Ashley was reliable, intelligent, and had skills that would perfectly complement Amanda's. But it also meant sharing the secret with another person, increasing the risk of Stephen discovering everything. "I would pay you in cash," Amanda offered, "without official records. It would be our secret operation." "Perfect. I've always wanted to have my own business, and I confess I'm kind of bored with corporate marketing." Ashley smiled. "Besides, someone needs to make sure you don't die of exhaustion before getting rich." They worked out the details. Ashley would work 3 nights a week in Amanda's garage from 2 to 6 in the morning. She would receive $1,500 per month in cash. No questions or paperwork. She would be responsible for all production on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. The first night of working together was a revelation. Ashley had skilled hands and learned quickly. More importantly, she brought organizational energy that Amanda didn't know she needed. They created production line systems, optimized schedules, and even secret codes to communicate about the business when Stephen was around. Operation Brigadero meant they had a big delivery the next day. Grandma's recipe was code for problems with some client. Fresh ingredients meant profits were above expected. Working together, they managed not only to fulfill all contracts, but exceed expectations. Quality remained high, deliveries were always on time, and commercial clients began asking for quantity increases. Stephen began noticing changes in Amanda, but interpreted everything completely wrong. "You're more dressed up lately," he commented on a Thursday night, observing Amanda, who had bought some new clothes with her profits. "And you seem more cheerful?" Amanda held her breath, fearing he was suspecting something. "I think you finally understood your place," Stephen continued with cruel satisfaction. "You're conforming to the fact that I have control of our life. Women look prettier when they accept who's in charge." Amanda almost laughed at the irony. If Stephen knew she was earning 3 times more than him, that she had a bank account with more than $15,000, that she commanded a commercial operation serving establishments throughout the city. But she just smiled and nodded, allowing him to continue living in his fantasy of control. Ashley and Amanda developed impressive efficiency. They could produce 180 cupcakes in 4 hours of working together, with quality that left commercial clients increasingly impressed. Special orders began arriving. Golden Wheat wanted themed cupcakes for Valentine's Day. Urban Beans requested a special line of gourmet coffee cupcakes. Sweet Corner asked for exclusive creations for VIP client corporate events. Amanda was living the dream she never knew she had. Every morning, she woke up with purpose, energy, and clear objectives. She was building something that was completely hers, something no one could take from her. When the first monthly payment of $8,000 entered her secret account, Amanda allowed herself a moment of silent celebration in the garage. She looked around her secret kingdom, organized shelves, professional equipment, efficient systems working like clockwork. She had transformed a forgotten corner of the garage into the heart of an empire that Stephen didn't even dream existed. And with each passing day, that empire grew stronger, more profitable, more impossible to destroy. Amanda smiled, cleaning her hands on her apron. Stephen could continue thinking he controlled her life. But the truth was, she had found a freedom he could never understand or touch. And that freedom tasted like cupcakes and smelled like victory. Have you ever needed help but were afraid to trust someone with your dreams? Tell us in the comments about your experiences building something as a team, because these stories of partnership and mutual trust inspire other people who are going through similar situations. The call that would forever change Amanda's destiny arrived on a Friday morning when she was organizing the week's production with Ashley in the garage. The name on the caller ID was unknown, but the voice on the other side was from someone clearly used to closing important deals. "Good morning. Am I speaking with Amanda from Sweet Dreams Cupcakes?" the man asked with a professional accent. "My name is David Martinez. I'm the purchasing manager for the Fresh Market chain. We have 12 stores spread throughout the region." Amanda felt her heart stop. Fresh Market was the largest supermarket chain in the city, known for selling gourmet and artisanal products to a high-income audience. "I received a very strong recommendation for your cupcakes through the owner of Cafe Morning Bliss," David continued. "We're always looking for local suppliers of exceptional quality for our premium bakery section. Would you be interested in talking about a supply contract?" Amanda could barely process what she was hearing. A supermarket chain? 12 stores? It was such a gigantic leap that she had to lean on the garage counter to keep from falling. I would love to talk about it," she stammered. "Perfect. How about Monday, at 2 in the afternoon, at our headquarters? I need to warn you that for chain supply, you'll need to have an officially registered company. It's company policy to work only with formalized suppliers." After she hung up, Amanda was silent for several minutes, processing the magnitude of what had just happened. Ashley looked at her with a mixture of excitement and concern. "A supermarket chain? Amanda," Ashley whispered. "Do you realize what this means? We're talking about thousands of units per month, tens of thousands of dollars in revenue. But along with euphoria came raw reality. To accept this proposal, Amanda would need to legally formalize her business. It meant coming out of the shadows, registering a company, and issuing invoices. It was impossible to keep everything secret if she took this step. Amanda spent the entire weekend researching business formalization. She discovered she could register an individual microenterprise, that initial costs were relatively low, and that she could use Ashley's address as the company headquarters to avoid raising suspicions at home. On Monday morning, before the meeting with David, Amanda went to the accountant Ashley recommended. In 2 hours, she had officially registered Sweet Dreams Cupcakes, Amanda as majority partner, Ashley as minority partner. It was surreal to see her name on an official document as entrepreneur. The meeting at Fresh Market was even more impressive than Amanda had imagined. David received her in an elegant conference room with a complete presentation about the chain, sales data, and growth projections. "Amanda, I'll be direct," David said after tasting the cupcakes she had brought. "Your quality is at the level of the best suppliers we've ever worked with. We want to start with 2 varieties in each store, gourmet chocolate and premium red velvet. That would be 240 cupcakes per week per store." Amanda quickly did the math. 240 cupcakes per store, 12 stores, was almost 3,000 cupcakes per week, almost 12,000 units per month. "We can pay $4 per unit for volume purchases," David offered. $48,000 per month in revenue. "Obviously, you'll need infrastructure for industrial-scale production." $48,000 per month. Amanda had to disguise her shock. It was more money than Stephen made in 2 years of work. But she also knew that accepting would mean total exposure. Her cupcakes would be in public showcases throughout the city. It was impossible that Stephen wouldn't find out, sooner or later. "I need a few days to analyze my production capacity," Amanda replied professionally. "It's a significant volume. I want to ensure I can deliver with the quality you expect." Of course, but I can tell you that if everything goes well, we're thinking about expanding to other regions. Fresh Market has very ambitious growth plans. Going home, Amanda knew she had reached a point of no return. Accepting the Fresh Market contract meant leaving anonymity forever, but refusing meant wasting the opportunity of her lifetime. She decided to accept, but with a careful strategy. First, she implemented online sales through a simple website that Ashley helped her create. Sweet Dreams Cupcakes, artisanal gourmet delivery. They started offering deliveries in the region, charging premium prices for personalized cupcakes. Online sales took off immediately. Amanda discovered she had natural talent for digital marketing, creating irresistible photos of her cupcakes, writing descriptions that made people salivate, developing promotions that generated buzz on social media. In 2 weeks, online sales were generating an additional $5,000 per month. Amanda had found a way to grow exponentially without depending only on physical contracts. Stephen began noticing more evident changes. Amanda was always on the computer researching recipes. She received more calls during the day. She seemed to have energy and confidence he hadn't seen in years. "You've been different," he commented on a Thursday night, watching Amanda responding to client emails on her laptop. "More cheerful." "Oh, I've been making some sweets for Ashley's friends," Amanda replied casually. "It's been fun. Gives me something to do during the day." Stephen laughed with disdain. "And at least you found a useful activity. As long as it doesn't interfere with your house duties, you can keep playing baker." If he knew that her game was generating over $50,000 per month, that she had a registered company, that her cupcakes would be sold in 12 supermarkets in the region. But Amanda just smiled and continued typing. The following Friday, Amanda signed the contract with Fresh Market. It was official. She was a supermarket chain supplier, registered entrepreneur, CEO of her own company. That night, looking through the garage window at the house where Stephen was watching TV, completely oblivious to the revolution that had happened just meters away from him, Amanda allowed herself a moment of deep contemplation. She had risen from rock bottom, from that devastating moment when Stephen broke her card and her dignity, to become a successful entrepreneur. She had transformed $47 forgotten in a drawer into an empire that generated more in 1 month than Stephen earned in a year. And the most incredible thing was that she had done all this alone, with her own talent, her own determination, her own refusal to accept being small. Stephen had tried to break more than a card that day. He had tried to break her spirit. But what he didn't know was that he had created a much more dangerous woman. A woman who discovered she didn't need anyone's permission to be extraordinary. With $50,000 per month consistently entering her bank account, Amanda reached a conclusion that both haunted and liberated her at the same time. She no longer needed Stephen for absolutely anything. Financially, emotionally, practically, she had become completely independent without him having the slightest idea. It was a Tuesday morning when Amanda made the decision that would change everything forever. She was in the garage, organizing the week's production, when she realized she had more money in her account than Stephen would earn in 5 years of work. It was time to stop living a lie. The first call she made was to a law office downtown. She purposefully chose a lawyer who was far from the neighborhood where she lived, where the chances of Stephen knowing someone were minimal. "Dr. Caroline Foster, Family Law," said the professional voice on the other end of the line. "I would like to schedule a consultation to discuss a divorce process," Amanda said, and for the first time in 8 years, those words didn't cause her fear. They caused relief. "Of course. Can it be tomorrow at 3 in the afternoon?" Perfect. On Wednesday, Amanda dressed like the entrepreneur she had become. A discreet but elegant suit, well-groomed hair, upright posture. When she entered Dr. Caroline's office, she was no longer the broken woman Stephen had humiliated months ago. "Amanda, before we begin, I need to understand your financial situation," the lawyer said, sitting behind an imposing desk. "In divorce cases, asset division is crucial." Amanda took a deep breath and began telling her story. She talked about the abusive financial control, about the broken card, about how she had built a business from scratch in secret. She showed bank statements, commercial contracts, company documents. Dr. Caroline listened to everything in silence, and when Amanda finished, the lawyer was visibly impressed. "Amanda, in 20 years of practice, I've never seen such a dramatic reversal," she said. "You didn't just become financially independent. You became the economically dominant part of the relationship." "What does that mean for the divorce?" "It means you hold all the cards. Your husband can't touch your company because it was created after marriage with your own resources. Without his participation, you have proven income, total financial independence. Frankly, he's the one who should be worried." The lawyer explained the strategy. First, Amanda needed to completely protect her assets. Second, she should document the entire situation of financial and emotional abuse. Third, when separation time came, she would have the power to dictate the terms. "I suggest you start preparing for physical independence too," Dr. Caroline advised. "Have you thought about where you'll live after separation?" Amanda had thought about it. That same week, she began looking for houses discreetly. She didn't want anything ostentatious, just a beautiful, comfortable place that was completely hers. On Friday, she found the perfect house. It was a 2-bedroom residence in Maple Gardens, a quiet neighborhood on the other side of town. It had a spacious kitchen with a center island, perfect for continuing to develop recipes. A small but charming garden. And mainly, it was far enough from Stephen that she could restart her life in peace. The realtor, Michael, was surprised when Amanda said she wanted to close the deal immediately. "Mrs. Amanda, the house costs $150,000. Usually people need bank financing, credit approval." "I can pay cash," Amanda replied simply. Michael was silent for a moment, reassessing the discreetly dressed woman in front of him. "Cash, the full amount. The full amount. How long does it take to finalize the documentation?" "If all the papers are in order, 2 weeks." Amanda signed the preliminary papers that same day. 2 weeks later, she would officially own a house that Stephen didn't even know existed. While waiting for the purchase to be finalized, Amanda meticulously organized all her business assets. She transferred everything to her individual name, ensured that no company document had any connection to Stephen or the address where they lived. Ashley was fundamental in this process. As a minority partner in the company, she helped Amanda ensure that all documentation was legally protected. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Ashley asked one night while they organized contracts in the garage. "I'm not questioning your decision, but it's a gigantic change." "Ashley, for 8 years I've lived as a prisoner in my own home," Amanda replied with iron determination. "For 8 years I've asked permission to exist. Now I have a company that generates more in 1 month than my husband earns in a year. I have my own house, money in the bank, total independence. Why would I continue living a lie?" "You're right. And can I say something? You're the bravest woman I know." During these weeks of preparation, Stephen noticed nothing different. Amanda had become so skilled at living a double life that she could maintain the facade of a submissive wife even while being days away from completely exploding his reality. She continued cooking, cleaning, being invisible when he came home from work. But inside, she was counting the days to her final liberation. The irony was delicious. Stephen continued thinking he had total control over her, that he had managed to put her in her place when he broke that card. He had no idea that moment had been the catalyst for her to become everything he would never be: successful, independent, powerful. On Thursday of the second week of waiting, the realtor called. "Amanda, the papers are ready. The house is officially yours." That night, Amanda went to her new house alone. She opened the door with her own keys, walked through the empty rooms, smelled the fresh paint and infinite possibilities. She was standing in the kitchen, imagining where she would place her cupcake molds, when she had a profound realization. For the first time in her adult life, she was in a house that was completely hers. No one could take her away from there. No one could break her things or control her movements. It was hers. Amanda allowed herself to cry in that moment, not from sadness, but from absolute relief. They were tears of freedom, of achievement, of a woman who had been reborn from the ashes of her own humiliation. Returning to the house she still shared with Stephen, Amanda knew her days there were numbered. She had built her escape so perfectly that when revelation time came, Stephen would discover he had not only lost a wife, he had lost to a woman who had become everything he could never be. The moment of truth was coming, and Amanda was more than ready. Have you ever had to secretly plan a big change in your life? Have you ever needed to build your independence little by little, in silence, until you were strong enough to take the definitive step? How did it feel to finally have control of your own life in your hands? Share with us in the comments, because stories of women who strategically planned their freedom inspire others who are living similar situations. Amanda decided that her revelation would be as grandiose and devastating as the humiliation Stephen had imposed on her that terrible morning months ago. If he had chosen to break her dignity in the kitchen of their own home, she would choose to restore her honor in front of the entire city. The idea came on a Thursday when she was finalizing the details of the Fresh Market contract. Why not organize an official launch event for Sweet Dreams Cupcakes? An elegant party where she would publicly present herself as the CEO of the company the entire city already knew and admired. Amanda spent 2 weeks meticulously planning every detail. She rented the most elegant event hall in the city, the Crystal Ballroom, where the local elites' weddings took place. She hired professional catering services, sophisticated decoration, even a photographer to record the historic moment. She had elegant invitations printed on high-quality paper. Sweet Dreams Cupcakes has the pleasure of inviting you to the official launch of our company. Meet the creative mind behind the cupcakes that conquered the city. The guest list was carefully crafted. All her commercial clients, people who had bought her cupcakes over the months, neighborhood acquaintances, some local journalists who covered business events, and of course, Stephen. On the Thursday before the event, Amanda personally delivered the invitation to Stephen during dinner. "What's this?" he asked, looking at the golden paper with suspicion. "An invitation to a party on Saturday," Amanda replied casually. "A local company is having a launch. I thought you might like to go with me. It's been a while since we went out together." Stephen examined the invitation and frowned. Sweet Dreams Cupcakes. Never heard of it. Must be another one of those backyard businesses. "Maybe," Amanda said, hiding a smile. "But they say they make very good cupcakes, and the party promises to be elegant. All right, I'll go. But I don't want to stay too late. And you'll have to drive. I'll take advantage and drink." On Saturday night, Amanda dressed up like she had never dressed before. She bought an elegant but discreet navy blue dress, new shoes, had her hair professionally styled. When she looked in the mirror, she saw a confident entrepreneur, no longer the broken woman Stephen had created. "You look different," Stephen commented when she came down the stairs. "More dressed up." "It's an important party," Amanda replied. "I want to make a good impression." They arrived at the Crystal Ballroom at 8 at night. The hall was magnificently decorated, full of elegant people chatting animatedly. Stephen looked around, impressed. Clearly, he didn't expect something so sophisticated. "This cupcake company must be doing very well," he murmured. "Well, look at the level of this party." Amanda waved to several people she recognized. Robert from Morning Bliss, David from Fresh Market, Susan, who had made the first big order. They all returned the greeting with warm smiles. "How do you know so many people?" Stephen asked, confused. "Oh, you know how it is in a small town. You end up knowing people?" At 9 o'clock, the music stopped, and Ashley went up to the small stage they had set up in the center of the hall. She was radiant, wearing an elegant dress and holding a microphone. "Good evening, dear friends," Ashley announced. "Thank you so much for being here with us on this very special night. We are gathered to celebrate the official launch of a company that has already conquered the heart and taste buds of our entire city." Stephen paid attention distractedly, still not understanding why Amanda seemed to know half the people present. Sweet Dreams Cupcake started very humbly, Ashley continued, but through dedication, talent, and extraordinary entrepreneurial vision of our CEO, it became one of the most respected companies in the industry in the region. The audience applauded enthusiastically. Stephen sipped his champagne, moderately interested. Now, I would like to invite to the stage the woman behind all this, the creative mind who transformed a passion for baking into a business empire. Please, let's welcome with applause the CEO and founder of Sweet Dreams Cupcakes, Amanda. Stephen's world stopped. He saw Amanda calmly walk toward the stage, greeting people who clearly knew her well. He saw her climb the steps with elegance and accept the microphone from Ashley. He saw her position herself in the center of the stage, under the spotlights, as if she had been born to be there. "Good evening, everyone," Amanda said, her voice coming out clear and confident through the sound system. "My name is Amanda, and I am the CEO of Sweet Dreams Cupcakes." Stephen dropped his champagne glass on the floor. The sound of glass shattering was muffled by the enthusiastic applause from the audience. "A few months ago," Amanda continued, looking directly at Stephen in the crowd, "I found myself in a very difficult situation. Someone very close to me tried to convince me that I was worth nothing, that I was capable of nothing, that I should conform to being small. The audience was in complete silence, mesmerized by the story. But sometimes, when they try to diminish us, they end up releasing a force they didn't even know existed. What started with $47 forgotten in a drawer transformed into a company that today generates $50,000 per month, supplies 12 supermarkets in the region, and directly employs 3 people." The applause was deafening. Stephen was pale, open-mouthed, trying to process what he was hearing. "I would like to thank all the clients who trusted my work," Amanda said, "the business partners who bet on my company, and especially my partner and best friend Ashley, who believed in me when I could barely believe in myself." More applause. Stephen continued in shock, as if he were watching a surreal movie. "But mainly," Amanda said, her voice gaining emotional intensity, "I would like to thank the person who taught me the most valuable lesson of my life, that I can depend only on myself." She made a dramatic pause, her eyes meeting Stephen's in the crowd. "Therefore, at the end of this night, besides celebrating the official launch of Sweet Dreams Cupcakes, I will also be celebrating the beginning of a new phase of my life. I will be moving to my new house, which I bought with money I earned from my own company, and finalizing my divorce process." The entire hall was silent for a moment, then exploded in even more enthusiastic applause. Several women in the audience were clearly emotional, some even with tears in their eyes. Stephen was completely petrified. His mind was trying to process the information. Amanda had a company. Amanda earned $50,000 per month. Amanda had bought a house. Amanda was divorcing him. Nothing made sense. Amanda came down from the stage and walked directly to Stephen, who remained standing in the same place, still in shock. She was holding a small gift box. "For you," she said simply, handing him the box. With trembling hands, Stephen opened the box. Inside was a perfectly decorated cupcake, and beside it, an envelope. On the cupcake, written in golden icing, was the phrase, "Thank you for teaching me that I can depend only on myself." Stephen opened the envelope with trembling fingers. They were divorce papers, already signed by Amanda and the lawyer. How did you—" he stammered, finally finding his voice. "How did I do all this without you knowing?" Amanda asked, her voice calm but firm. "The same way you broke my card without me expecting it. The same way you tried to control me without me deserving it. The same way you humiliated me without me having done anything to deserve it." She paused, looking into his eyes. "The difference is that when you humiliated me, Stephen, you awakened something that neither you nor I knew existed. You forced me to discover that I am much stronger, much more capable, and much more valuable than you ever allowed me to believe." Stephen looked at her as if he were seeing a ghost. "So thank you," Amanda concluded. "Thank you for teaching me that I never needed you for anything. Thank you for showing me that the only person I can really trust is myself. and thank you for giving me the motivation to become the woman I always was inside, but that you never let me be." Amanda turned and walked back to the party, where hundreds of people were waiting to congratulate her on the company's success and her courage to start over. Stephen was left alone in the middle of the hall, holding divorce papers and a cupcake, finally understanding that the woman he had tried to destroy had not only survived, she had also become everything he would never be. 6 months after that transformative night at the Crystal Ballroom, Amanda was in the kitchen of her new house, preparing cupcakes with a heart full of gratitude. Sweet dreams. Cupcakes had become much more than a company. It was a symbol of hope for women throughout the region. The divorce was finalized without complications. Stephen, embarrassed, didn't contest any terms. The company continued growing. 20 fresh market stores, national franchise proposals, interested investors. But most important was the woman Amanda had become. She woke up knowing that her choices were completely her own, and that no one could take away what she had built, and that she had the power to dream as big as she wanted. The deepest lesson of this story wasn't about entrepreneurship, but about the incredible strength that all women carry within themselves. Sometimes we need to be humiliated to discover that we are indestructible. If someone tries to diminish your dreams or control your choices, remember Amanda. Inside, you exist a force that no one can touch, a talent that no one can destroy. Don't wait for permission to be extraordinary. Don't let anyone convince you that you are small. Your life is yours and is meant to be lived by you. Your dreams are yours and should be realized. Remember, sometimes the moments that hurt the most are exactly the ones that push us to become who we really are. How did this story touch you? What strength do you need to discover? Share in the comments, because your story could inspire another person to take the first step. Leave your like, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications for more stories of women who transformed pain into power. We all deserve to discover that we are much more powerful than we imagine.